Hello, this is the TradeSight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview and Domestic Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Monday, August 4th, 2014. Yes, we're in August already, ending Friday, August 8th. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. Have a look at the ES Futures contract. This is the front month futures contract of the S&P 500. Talked about this last week. We were expecting, I mentioned the fact that we'd had this 13 sell signal back at the beginning of July. The market kind of held up, was dead flat during earnings, even just barely closed above the pink risk line from that sell signal during earnings. And said right at the time I thought that sell signal could still come into play as the market was sort of fascinated with the earnings releases at the time. And sure enough, markets rolled over this week, had a pretty negative week to close out July and to start up August, obviously. The red static trend line is in play. That's potentially the target here on the ES futures contract. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ 100 index on the daily chart. And you can see here, this is also rolled over quite a bit, broke whatever trend line was in place there since May, basically. It doesn't have a 13 sell signal operational at the moment, but obviously it's going to come down. If the market's heading down, it's not going to be able to hold up while the ES heads lower. Here's a look at the SOX, which is helping lead the NASDAQ lower, heading towards this red static trend line on the semiconductor index, and then the biotech index is heading here right now, basically straight sideways. The next thing to look at here are some of the key stocks that we like to trade, and we'll take a quick look at oil as well. The crude oil inventories, this is what's really interesting. Strange time of year, heading into hurricane season, heading into still a hot part of the summer, with all the uncertainty in the Ukraine and Israel and in the Middle East in general, and oil is heading lower, continues to head lower. I've been pointing this out all month. Now it's cracked 100, sitting at $97.62 for the close on Friday. We are getting near a 13 buy signal on this chart, the red numbers, but again, prices at the pump going down at a strange time of year. Here's a look at gold. Also drifting. All right, let's look at some of the key stocks that we do like to trade and see what they did this week. We'll start with the Google chart. Had a nice cup formation, could still be forming a handle, but obviously selling off as the market sells off. Apple also had a down week. It's holding closer to the highs at the moment, post-split, as we like to say, that occurred back in June. The static trend line in play there is about just under $91 if we do head lower. These static trend lines could be our first sort of levels of support if the market continues to push to the downside. They should be targets in the general market. Amazon cracked lower. We had a nice trade Friday in Amazon on the short side. Worked very well for us. Also had a call on Netflix. Now this was interesting. Netflix basically had a flat week. We made some money on the downside, pretty good money actually on Friday on the downside of Netflix from our call, breaking under the lows of the last several weeks. But it then rebounded late in the day, so we're already out of the trade. It did get a little bounce, which was interesting. But at any rate, let's take a look at Tesla next. Okay, Tesla is basically flat, actually had a slightly up week, and you've got cup and handle formation on the Tesla. Next up here is taking a look at the intraday action on the futures during the week. And here's a look at what's going on in the futures market. We're going to look at 10-minute bars so you can see what happened during the week here. And this includes a little bit of last Friday. So we opened flat on Monday. Basically, a little dip, came back, closed about even for the day. Remember, Tuesday was a two-day Fed meeting. Opened basically flat, a little bit of wiggling in the middle of the day, closed a little down for the day, but you're not going to go far ahead of the Fed announcement. Wednesday, slight gap up on the GDP number. And then the Fed announcement, you can see we had filled the gap, got a spike in the afternoon on the Fed announcement, and ended up closing basically flat for the session. So the first 3 days of the week, fairly flat. Thursday, unfortunately, we started with a big gap down and kept on going, pushing significantly lower for the session, but a lot of it was that gap. Friday was a real clean trading session, opened on a small gap down, filled that gap, rolled over, nice drop, and we made a lot of money trading stocks like Netflix, NTES, Amazon, and a couple others. So it was a good trading session on Friday, but the first part of the week was a little bit flat. We are now beyond July. We don't have a lot of earnings to worry about. We don't have the Fed for another 6 weeks. We don't have the first look at GDP for another quarter. So we're free to just trade at this point in time. August can be a fun month in terms of activity, and so we're going to see obviously what that brings us. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ futures really quick. Okay, here's a look at what they did this week. Basically flat again Monday through Wednesday, just like what you see on the ES, and then the gap down Thursday and the push Friday, a little bit lower, and then a slight rebound late in the session. So basically, obviously, the sides look identical, but overall, it was a decent trading week. Certainly, Friday was fun, and we'll see what we get in the week ahead. We'll start by looking at the data that's due this week. A lot less than last week, as you'll recall, we had a lot come out this last week. Monday, no data at all. Tuesday at 10 a.m., 30 minutes into the market. Factory orders and ISM services. That's two pieces of data that can move the market. Wednesday, we've got the NBA mortgage index, trade balance, and crude oil inventories. Thursday, initial and continuing jobless claims. That is the weekly numbers. It's not the monthly unemployment number. Natty gas, inventory, and consumer credit at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Friday, we've got productivity, preliminary productivity, unit labor costs, and wholesale inventories. That's it for the week. Not a lot to focus on. Trade balance will be probably the biggest number of the week, although that factory orders and ISM services can certainly move the market on Tuesday. What do I expect for the week? Well, probably a slow start given the fact that Monday is without economic data, unless, of course, news around the world here, the situation in Israel continues to worsen, or in the Ukraine. That probably is playing a role in the dip in the market, although it is amazing that oil is on the way down in the middle of that. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye on the world news for Monday. But I would think, again, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, typically the better trading days of the week. Summer Fridays, hey, we just had a great one to end the week here, but typically Fridays are a little bit slower in the summer. What do you expect for August? Traditionally, over time, in the last 100 years, August is a positive month. It's a little less volume because people are on the road on vacation, but it's usually a good trading month. If you take the last 20 years, however, August is the most negative month of the year on average. It's the only month that on average returns a negative 2% return. So there has been a difference in August over the last 20 years versus the prior 80, which is interesting. Either way, suggests some volatility, and so we'll see what we get for August. And then, of course, we head into September, where everybody comes back from summer, volume picks up, the markets get a lot more interesting, and hopefully get some kind of a bottom out in October like usual. And then the best 6 trading months of the year are always October through April. So we're looking forward to the transition coming out of the summer here. But I do think this could be a decent week based on the fact that we're starting to see some movement as of Thursday and Friday. That's all we need. Don't care what direction it is. We just want to see some movement. We will be in the trading lab making calls and helping you out. If you've never taken a trial of our services, come by tradesight.com and take a look. We'll also be posting our futures and forex results for the month of July this weekend in our market blog. You can take a look at that as well. And hope you have a great trading week. We'll talk to you soon.